So anyway, we were there yesterday, wind up spending the whole day, had some Cré, had some shrimp cocktail. That's the kind of wine this is. So beach weather, warm weather, and this wine, really great combination. And we've carried this now. I was looking back. This was one of our original imported wines. We started working with Vetrere, I want to say the second or third year that we were in business. So maybe 2012 or 13 was the year we started bringing in Vetrere wines, and we've carried them ever since. They've become really popular, both their whites and their reds. I love their reds, but to me, their white wines are what really separate them. And in general, that's true of Puglia. Their reds are very good, don't get me wrong, they are. And people love their reds because they're very fruit forward, sort of what you see is what you get, straightforward red wines. But their white wines, for Puglia and definitely for Vetrere, are what puts them on the map. They are, they're known to be really unique varietals, things you don't find outside of Puglia a lot. A little bit of the same varietals you sometimes find in Campania, which is the area just south and a little bit to the west of, to the east of Naples. That area also produces similar varietals. They cross over a little bit. But Puglia white wines are aromatic wines, food-friendly wines, juicy, bright flavors. And this Cré is a classic example of really good Puglia white wine. So we'll start off with the region. Puglia, if you're looking at a map of Italy, is the heel of the boot. So you know how Italy looks like a big boot? Well, on the heel, on sort of the arch of the heel of the boot is Puglia. And Puglia sits on the Ionian Sea, so the very south part of the Adriatic, and it's directly across from many of the like Greek Isles, the famous Greek Isles, Mykonos, and all those places where people go and vacation. So a lot of the culture, a lot of the architecture is reminiscent of Greece. And so, as you can imagine, warm, beautiful blue sea, white buildings, kind of strikingly beautiful area. And so the wines often are fish-friendly, seafood-friendly white wines that are thirst-quenching for those hot Puglia summers. In Puglia, there's several different regions. And I've tasted my way through several different producers, and I have yet to find one. I've tasted a handful now, probably a dozen or so of the smaller good producers in Puglia. Vetrere Wines really stands to me above anything I've tasted. Quality, they really fit our whole model. Very cool story with the family. They're multi-generation. They go back, I want to say till the mid-1800s, but the actual land they have, when they acquired the land and acquired the winery, they have maps that were hung in the tasting room, and the maps go back, you know, mapping out the vineyards go back centuries. So it's an area that's been producing wine, known for producing wine for many, many years, hundreds of years. And the Vetrere Winery is now run entirely by females. It's very cool. A lot of female empowerment sort of messages come out through their social media and through their website. The women of Vetrere is what I often see when I get emails from them. And so it's Anna Maria and Francesca, sisters, who run the winery. Anna Maria makes the wine. Francesca sort of runs the business side of it. But they each have, one of them has 2 daughters, one of them has 1 daughter, and all 3 of the daughters are involved both in the running of the business, and then Anna Maria's daughter is actually now becoming the winemaker, sort of taking the reins over from her mom, an apprentice winemaker. So the whole family is involved, but it's a core of women producing wonderful wines, running a really strong business. They also grow quite a bit of olives and make really good olive oil, like delicious olive oil. They also make, they grow the wheat, a certain strain of wheat, a genetically modified wheat. In fact, it's one of the original, I forget what they call it, heritage strains, maybe. I don't know if anybody remembers. It's a specific name for types of wheat and types of grains that are way back when they trace their roots to the original type of wheats. And
is it ancient wheat?
What's that?
Ancient wheat?
Maybe ancient. Maybe that's the word. It's not the word I was looking for, but that could be a way to describe it for sure. The idea there is, and I'm diverting here way off, but there's been a lot of talk in, and I pay attention to this because my wife is really into this, in natural eating and healthy eating circles about the way that wheat specifically has been changed over the years to help it grow better and to produce more, but it's become almost undigestible. And you see that's why there's so many people with gluten intolerances in the world. That didn't used to be the case. And a lot of it, one theory claim is that these original strains of wheat are lost, and these new strains of wheat, which maybe help produce bigger crops and maybe are more pest resistant, disease resistant, are very difficult to digest. And so anyway, to circle back in, the Vetrere family grows wheat that are original, these ancient strains of wheat. And so people who are gluten intolerant, I'm trying to remember who in our little small circle, are able to eat the pastas that they make. They make these amazing fresh pastas. They also bag them in dry pastas. And they're made with a strain of wheat that doesn't bother anybody. My wife's a little bit gluten intolerant, so she avoids pasta and breads and whatnot. But the Vetrere pastas are completely fine for her, and I think a lot of people would find the same. So anyway, they're just an old family sort of living true to their roots, true to the original strains of native grapes that they grow, as well as native crops. And so this particular varietal, Minutolo, which when we first started carrying it had 2 names, and now the people of Puglia have really sort of eliminated calling it Fiano, because Fiano is a grape varietal grown in Campania. And in Campania, they make quite a whole bunch of different white wines. Little villages make white wines with Fiano. They used to call Minutolo Fiano Aromatico, but it's really sort of kind of become a thing of the past. It's now Minutolo, and Minutolo is native to Puglia. And so that's the grape. Minutolo, the way I would describe it for people who've never had a Minutolo, most people haven't, or if they have, they didn't know they were drinking it because it doesn't always say that on the label in Italian wines. I think it carries characteristics that remind me of Viognier. So that sort of white florals, honeysuckle flowers, along with some tropical fruits. I think that where Viognier has a little bit more natural oily viscosity and richness, the Minutolo carries a little bit more acidity. And so maybe a little bit more tart, a little bit more lime and citrus notes on the wine, particularly, and I'm going to invite those of you who have had many vintages of Vetrere Cré to give me your feedback on this as you're sipping along with me. And I know everyone has the sample bottle, so if you haven't opened it, open it, because I might call on you. But I think it's a little different, this vintage specifically, than previous vintages. And I think this vintage, for me, has a little bit more of the citrus lime flavor, specifically lime, actually, going on, and a little bit less of the sort of papaya, tropical, pineapple-y flavors to it. It's still there, and I think it's there more on the aroma. But to me, on the palate, I was definitely getting more tart citrus, that mouth-watering acidity. I don't know if that's just a vintage thing or if it's a slight transition as the younger generation starts to become more involved in the winemaking. Perhaps they're harvesting the grapes with a little less fruit sugar, sort of following in line with the low alcohol, high acidity white wine trend that really the entire world has sort of fallen under, producing white wines that are, in the 12 to 13% range. This one's 12.5. I feel like we've had Vetrere Crés that were 13 and a half and 14 over the years. So it could be that the fruit's picked a little a little less ripe, carrying a little less sugar, bringing out more of the tart flavors, or it could just be the vintage. Maybe 2022 was a slightly cooler year. I'm not sure, but I definitely got a little bit more of the citrus notes on this wine. So swirling it in the glass, the color is beautiful. I would describe it as pale yellow. I don't think it's quite as even, I don't even know if it's as dark as what I would call straw gold, certainly not like a rich gold. Pale yellow, I think, is a pretty close description. I don't know if you guys can see the color here. As you look towards the back with a white background, you usually can see it a little better. Definitely a pale color. And I feel like there's been vintages of Cré that had a little bit more pigment to it as well. But oh my gosh, the nose. Yeah, like I was saying, we were drinking this on the beach yesterday. And it was so delicious. It was almost like drinking juice on the beach. It's hard to believe that there's any alcohol in it. It's so refreshing, so tasty. And the nose is just beautiful. I'm getting some honeycomb on the nose right now. I am getting a little tropical fruit. I don't know if it's papaya or I don't think it's pineapple. I eat a lot of pineapple. I'm usually pretty sharp with picking up pineapple on the nose of a wine, but there's something tropical, maybe papaya. But oh wow, yeah. Sides of my cheek are literally salivating from the acidity. So it's got that tartness that really pulls together the flavors of the honey and of the floral. Everything kind of comes together, and it gets a little more focused with that acidity. It's not as broad across your palate. It really comes together nice and sort of lean on the back end, which for a wine like this is not easy because the Minutolo grape, as I was saying, not maybe as rich as oily as Viognier, but definitely a more full-bodied white wine in general, the Minutolo grape. So to have that kind of acidity to make it a little lean and crisp on the finish is really nice. Makes it particularly refreshing. I put a food pairing, I hope I did. Yeah, the shrimp salad. So I do this salad usually with like a bib lettuce or a softer lettuce, maybe butter lettuce, and grilled shrimp kebabs. And I baste the kebabs right as they're just about done, as they're about to come off the grill, with like a mango chutney, which is made with like honey and chopped mango and a little bit of cilantro and a little bit of white wine vinegar that I whip together to give it nice viscosity, and then brush with apply with a little barbecue brush on those skewers, and those shrimp over a nice fresh salad with this wine. Summertime pleasure. But I can also remember, and I think you guys who've been around for a while can probably remember, we've released Vetrere. Timing isn't always perfect. We didn't always have Vetrere wines like we did this summer, where we had their rosé and now their Cré in the warm weather still. We've had them before where we released them like around Thanksgiving. And I can specifically remember drinking Vetrere Cré on a Thanksgiving, at the Thanksgiving table. Flavors of the wine would go really well with the Thanksgiving meal. It's a great food-friendly wine. We brought in one pallet, which is about somewhere in the, depending if they're using a European pallet or an American pallet, between 50 and 60 cases. I don't recall if Vetrere uses the Euro or the American size pallet. So anyway, we had between 50 and 60 cases. We've been pouring this here at the tasting room, featured in our what's called our Friday Night Light series, which started about 2 weeks ago. towards the end of August. I think like mid-August, maybe the third weekend in August. Each Friday night, we're doing a special lineup where you get 4 different really friendly summer thirst-quenching whites, because we know that San Diego is going to be hot for August and September, and it's been really popular, the Friday night whites, and this wine has been stealing the show, possibly because I don't think we've poured this in a couple of years at the tasting room, and so having this on tap on Friday nights has been a real popular thing. So probably 40 cases-ish, maybe 45 cases left in the United States. We're the sole importer of this wine. So about 500 bottles came into the U.S. market. And so for customers who've had this before, they'll remember it. Sometimes they won't remember the grape. In fact, I would venture to say most of your customers who bought this before, if you told them the Minutolo or the Fiano Aromatico from Vetrere came, they'll have no idea what you're talking about. You might want to describe the label, the Cré, with this nice sort of green sketch label. Their labels are very simple, which I like, sort of understated, classy. So yeah, just a beautiful summer white wine. And for San Diego, it couldn't be better times. The rest of the country may be getting a little cooler, although I don't think so. I was looking at the map, 80s and 90s all over the place. But this is a really beautiful summer white wine. Anybody drinking it along with me that maybe remembers previous vintages, or maybe remembers a food pairing? Let's go ahead and share.
I love this wine with, I'm not drinking it now, but I drink it a lot with my shrimp tacos that I make in the summertime. I think I've told you guys about them, with the jicama mango slaw, and I add a little bit of jalapeno, and it's got this like sweet sauce. And then I do blackened shrimp. And sometimes I'll do like an avocado crema, or sometimes I'll do like a chipotle crema, and it's just awesome. Like it's just a flavor bomb in my mouth. And I make those all year round. Remy doesn't eat meat, so we do a lot of different fish things. I've also had it with, I want to say, macadamia crusted halibut that I did one time. And that was awesome as well. So yeah, like anything just like light and fresh, it goes really well with.
I love that. And I do remember you talking about your shrimp tacos. Can you share that? Will you share that with like the group? Maybe throw it on the sticker thread or the text thread, whatever, the recipe, because I remember you talked about it one time, and I think I tried to make it, and I don't know that I did it as good as you made it sound. Do you use soft tacos, soft shells like flour or corn? Or
I do flour because I like flour, but also the Trader Joe's has those whole wheat ones that are like the tiny, Sonora style whole wheat ones. And like, I'm not typically like a really, like sweet person, but it goes really well with the shrimp tacos as well. Or if you're doing low carb, they have the jicama shells, which is awesome at Trader Joe's. So yeah, I mostly do soft.
Nice. Yeah.
I'll share the recipe.
Cool.
Super easy.
I like flour tortillas with shrimp tacos specifically, and fish tacos in general. I mean, I love a crunchy corn shell, but I usually do that with like ground beef or chicken. So with shrimp and fish, I really like a good fresh flour tortilla, and that sounds amazing. Shrimp tacos with this, yeah, yummy. Anybody else want to jump in or talk about a previous vintage versus this one? I feel like there's some good differences between previous vintages and this vintage.
Pete and I did it the other night. It just happened to be that we had the bottle open because Pete had opened it the night before. So I didn't really do a pairing that was specific to it, but it went pretty well. I had pistachio crusted salmon with it, and just like a side salad. So I think really anything out of the ocean with it is a good idea. But I would say previous vintages for me, I think were a little bit too like rich, a little too heavy. This one, I think, just had more freshness to it. It wasn't as like cloying on your palate.
Yeah.
Like I would say previous vintages, absolutely more like that rich Viognier style. But I thought this, trying to remember a similar Viognier, but like just kind of a little bit lighter on your palate, was kind of my impression of it. Yeah,
for sure. And I think maybe the acidity definitely has to do with that. It makes it feel very refreshing, crisp.
I agree with Meredith. I've always remembered the Cré being almost like ripe melon, and that's not typically my favorite, but this one absolutely blew my socks off. I'm definitely ordering it on my wine allowance. It was the best Cré we've ever had.
Yeah, I think for knowing your palate a little bit, Beth, not surprising that this is your favorite Cré. It's definitely not as tropical, not as full. It's a crisper, cleaner, a little more tart, delicious. And I think that's why it's going so well in the tasting room too, because it is hot and you come in and have a glass of this. I mean, I'm sitting here. There's no reason why I need to pour myself a second sip. It's 9:30 in the Monday morning, but it's so good. It's hard not to. It's so refreshing. So, all right. Well, I'm glad you guys all enjoyed it. Lots of good food recipes. Danielle, looking forward to you sharing that recipe. I'm going to make those tacos. All right. Last week, top consultant. Great job, you guys, last week. We had a 4-day week with Monday being Labor Day holiday. So only 4 sales days, and we had 3 people crushing it over 8,000. Meredith, great work, 8,018. And I think, Meredith, you were flying on Tuesday, so a 3-day week for you, actually. Missy, great job, 9924. Jonathan, awesome stuff, 10,017 in a 4-day week. So really good stuff last week. Keep rolling with it. I don't have my available inventory here in front of me, but man, do we have so many good wines. I can't really even pull my brain together about all the different varieties, but certainly there's not a white wine drinker in any of our customer base or new customers or anything that doesn't have a very perfect selection from our inventory of what they would love. There's just about every style and flavor and price range of a white wine available right now. And so white wine season certainly is still strong, but then obviously all the reds we have too. So it should be a fun week to get going and get some of this Cré into people's glasses, on people's tables who haven't had this before, because people, when they taste this wine for the first time, are blown away by it. It's so unique. It's so exotic and sort of different than any other white wine I can describe. The Viognier comparison, that was even a stretch back when the style was a little richer. It's definitely a stretch now, but I can't think of any other grape varietal that it reminds me of. It's certainly not as grapefruity, crunchy, tight acidity as a Sauv Blanc. It's really nothing like a Chardonnay as far as flavor profile or mouthfeel or anything Chardonnay-like about it. So it's just a unique sort of exotic white wine that I think anybody gets in their glass, they fall in love with it. And if you describe it like, hey, this is your end of summer, sitting by the pool and opening several bottles with a group of 6 or 8 people, people will love that. Send a picture of it, with a nice, with the way this is sort of a condensation on the bottle there. Yeah, I can take a picture if you guys need me to. Just let me know. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy this and have fun out there.